I was born and raised on Perkins Street, the top of Portuguese Hill. I lived there till I was 18 after I graduated from high school. And then I got married to Kelly here right out of high school. And we moved into her parents' house in Lanesville, stayed there for a couple of years, and actually stayed out in Bayview for a couple more years. And around that time we had 2 kids in short order. And I was working at Bomco, a blue-collar job at Bomco in the shipping department. And I started going to Salem State College at the time, evenings. And it took about 10 years for me to get my degree in communications. So as I was closing in on the degree, I started thinking about what I wanted to do, because I knew I'd have so much spare time, I say jokingly, not going to school, because I had evenings for studying and evenings for classes. So I thought about running for school committee. At the time we had a preschooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary school kid. My father was involved in a lot of youth sports, and he was involved in practically every organization in town. So we didn't have a political upbringing, but we had that community service oriented upbringing. But he wasn't elected till he was like 59 years old, and was almost 60 when he took office. So when I was growing up, during things like the oil embargo and Watergate and the Carter years and Reaganomics, we never had political conversations around the table. What we did have is we just saw the community involvement.
Your first election, were you a shoo-in when you ran for school committee?
Of course I was, until I lost. So it was actually, there were 7 people running for 6 seats, and I came in a strong 7th. And it was actually my cousin Johnny's wife, Danette, who came in 6th place. So there were 2 Vergas on the ballot that year. So, but after I lost, instead of just saying, forget it, I got involved. I had been involved as a volunteer at West Parish, but I got more involved, became a member of the building committee for a project over there, and got involved on the site-based management team, which helped the principal work on the priorities and the budget for the school year. So I did that for 2 years, and then I ran in the next city election, and I did win a seat on the school committee. I did that for 8 years, and I'll confess, the first term it was like a deer in the headlights, just trying to get to know. It's a lot different being a parent with kids at school than it is working on policy on the other side of it in the budget. So, but I got my feet wet pretty quickly, so my next term I really got more involved. And by the time I did my last term, my second to last term I was vice chair, my last term I was chairman. So by then I was really an active member participating in everything to do with the school system. And that's what you have to do. I mean, the day you take office, you really have to get to know what you're doing. You're not there just to take up space. So that's what I've done through my time on the school committee, and then in 2009, I ran for city council, and I ran for the Ward 5 seat. But as I was winding down my time as chairman, I thought it was time for me to move on. When I first got elected, we had now kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high school students.
So you have 3 children?
3 children who've all gone through the Gloucester schools, 2 have gone through college, and our youngest actually is halfway through, right? Just finished.
Congratulations.
So as I was winding down that last year, I decided it was time, because my kids 2 were out of school and one was halfway through high school, to move on from the school committee, let some new blood get on there. So I ran for the ward seat, and I did that for 2 terms. And that was really interesting. That's where you really see the rubber hit the road, where the constituent service is important, because people are calling you all hours a day and night, 7 days a week, about potholes, issues in the neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. And so I enjoyed doing that for 2 years, and I enjoyed the experience. But there were a lot of huge issues facing us as I was coming to the end of my second term, citywide issues like the Fuller School, like I4C2, just the whole budget in general. So that's when I decided it was time for me to move on to an at-large seat, or attempt to move on, which I succeeded in doing, and let someone else take over in the ward to handle the ward-specific issues.
Yeah, and so, Greg, you're the youngest of 8 children, is that right? So,
and I just want to mention, because so I went to school, and I mentioned Kelly was going back in the early 90s for her associate's degree, her RN, and then she went back evenings and weekends to get her bachelor's degree. So, you know, we've both been through the ringer on this. I just paid off my student loans maybe 2 years ago, and we're now paying on my son's student loans and making tuition payments on our youngest. So, yeah, so we definitely see firsthand how difficult it is. But
So-
we both see firsthand the reward at the end of it. As I talked about the jump from school committee to ward to at-large, each of those came as a result of realizing there were limitations for the position that I was in. And that's what I'm finding now as an at-large city council. There are certain limitations that you have as a member of the 9-member panel of the city council. And the mayor's office is where I think I would be a perfect fit to try to get some things happening in the city and to get some transparency into the mayor's office and get an active, hands-on mayor in place to get things done for the benefit of the city moving forward. And even if it's not stuff that's in my own personal best interest or my own personal opinion, if we have a fair, transparent process for each topic, then I can live with results, even if it's not what I was going for originally. And I will get behind it and make it succeed. So when we head towards our 400th anniversary in 2023, we have some real goals to shoot for.
And your theme is respect the past, embrace the future.
That's right. And that's what it's all summed up in, because you can't really look towards the future unless you know where you've been and how you got where you are. And then you can start to look ahead. And being someone who's been involved in the city for the last 14 plus years and lived here for the last 47 years, I certainly know where we've come from and I know where we are. And with my kids now out of school, my daughter married, and my youngest halfway through, I can see the future and I want to have a brighter future for them.